appreciate everybody's effort finding time to get here tonight at 5:30. Dave, take it from here on the roll.
All the roll. Mr. Conway.
Here.
Mr. Crandall.
Here.
Mr. Mahoney.
Here.
Cisco. Here.
All right, how about we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening?
I think we need the minutes first.
Thanks, John. Approval of the minutes from June 5th, 2018.
I'll move approval.
Second?
Did we get a revised one out, since I think we all had a couple of things changed on that?
I sent the revision that, I know you had a revision.
Yes.
I can send a brand new one out if you want me to.
That's okay, it was
Okay.
close enough. I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes. Hey guys, I was wondering if we could maybe move up the off-road discussion early instead of having you guys sit through an entire meeting. It's a great night, I'd love for you guys to all get home and have some fun or go have dinner. So, are we okay with that? Mr. Crandall, Joe?
I'm okay with that.
All right, we'll move it up to the front then. So let's get right into it here on the zoning resolution. If I could, I guess I'd like to, again, I can't thank you enough for being here. I'd like to kind of start back in October of 2016. And believe it or not, 2016, so ways away. But we were asked by a neighborhood to go ahead and look at our zoning resolution regarding a 2006 zoning resolution that actually is still in place today and will still be in place in the future with regards to noise. And our board in 2016 had asked our attorney to go ahead and take a look and see what's going on throughout the state of Ohio. Townships, our size, cities, villages, and just try to get a snapshot of what we're doing and how does ours really match up. And we do that in a lot of our businesses here. We do it, we say, let's look at other townships and what's going on. Are we doing things? Are we going down the right path? Are we doing things the right way? We've, over the last year or so, we've kind of gone back and forth with our attorney on some of the things we wanted, some of the things we didn't want, and some of the things that we kind of ended up with. And I don't want to confuse anybody here this evening, so I thought maybe I would lead in with what is the known and what is not the known. Okay, the knowns are from 2006, that's a long time ago. 2006 to today, nobody's ever said you can't ride your vehicles off-road, ever. If you've reviewed the resolutions, nothing's ever been said in the 2006, and nothing's even said in 2018. So I just want to be very clear with that we're not here taking anybody's rights away from having fun. I'm a snowmobile guy, so I kind of get where you guys are coming from. I like cruising around and having a good time. So I'm not here to, or I'm speaking on behalf of myself as chairman. I don't know what the other two are thinking, but they're more than welcome to jump in. But we're not here to take away anything, okay? What we did was, last week or 2 weeks ago, we came out with the first reading. And the beauty of government is, the first reading is why you're here today. Because you guys were able to look at this and say, hey, you know what, Neil or trustees, we've got some issues with this. And the three issues that we introduced for 2018 were, number one, land usage depending on the size of your property. Okay? Number two was looking, and we've done this in our zoning department. We looked at, through our township, we've got zoning permits and fees like that, so from time to time, we'll add the increase of fine. So what we did was we looked at that, and as number two was to add more fees onto a zoning complaint. And then number three was hours of operation. And in talking to Mike Buck, I see Mike, you're here, I've talked to a lot of you guys, email, phone, trying to get the right story out on this. And then I took it upon myself, without the trustees' knowledge last week, I met with our police chief and our attorney and our fiscal officer, because he's an attorney, just to make sure I'm not like doing anything out of the ordinary here, but had a meeting about what I would like to see for a new resolution. And the new resolution eliminates the fines and it eliminates the property lines. The only thing that would be put in place is hours of operation. Now, I don't know if you guys have never done this, but I've gone up to Bundy Hill and I've gone four-wheel and I had a great time up there hanging out. And their hours of operation are actually less than the hours of operation that we are proposing here today. We're proposing operations from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Now, we haven't voted on this, so I don't know what these other two guys are thinking. But my thought is we go ahead and rescind the resolution from 2018, the three things that we're asking for, or we're asking to provide, rescind those two, and keep the hours of operation in place. And the only reason I feel that the hours of operation is appropriate is because I think you look at, you just, 10 to 8 is 10 hours. I could drive to Atlanta before I could ride on my four-wheel all day, and I could drive to Atlanta, and I'd get there before you guys could be done four-wheeling in your backyard. So I'm not here to we're not here to be difficult, but we're also saying, hey, there's other people in the township that we need to all respect each other's properties, and out of respect, based on other information that we found throughout the state, on times that we felt, or I felt that was an appropriate thing to put in. And that's kind of how the history of where it's at. Nothing has ever been said about taking your guys' rights away. Because I'm a property rights guy too. I'm not here to cause a whole lot of trouble with regards. All we're asking for is that there is a 10 to 8 o'clock allowance to operate your vehicles, or to operate your off-road. Nothing. I'm telling you guys, nothing. Read it. I've had Sandy make some extra copies today. Nothing in either one of these documents in 2006 and 2018 ever states about not having a right to use your off-road vehicle. Hold on a second here. So with that being said, I don't know if your other two trustees would like to join in and comment here, but what I'd like to do is, if you don't, what I'd like to do is to go down the list of the folks that would like to discuss this, but if you start going down the path of talking about, I can't ride my four-wheeler on the property, you can. I can. Just be respectful, just like in 2006. Just be respectful of your neighbors like you guys always have been, because we don't have any complaints on this. We don't have any. We've had a few. Please, and one thing I will ask you guys, we've got a lot of people here and a lot of different moving parts with different opinions, and I'm going to ask you not to yell out because it's offensive to the other people that have to listen, but the correct way and the right way is sign your name in, you're going to come up to the dais, introduce yourself, tell us where you live, and we'll go from there. And then the other thing too is, if we've got a lot of redundancy, I don't want you to think I'm being a jerk, but as chairman, I got to keep this thing moving a little bit. And if there's some redundancy about, hey, I want to, where we had 150 feet, just like we were in 2006. Nothing's changed with the exception of hours of operation from 10 to 8. So, I'm going to go down the list, and if you're on the list here, Mr. Komisarek, I'd love to hear from you. So,
I would just like to bring up your revision that you voted on 2 weeks ago.
Correct. We actually, great question. Go ahead.
The revision that was brought up 2 weeks ago had restricted measures as far as how loud a vehicle could be at certain distances and all that. That they were based on the size of the property, and they were completely
correct.
Something that could not be met by any kind of vehicle,
correct.
let alone an off-road vehicle.
Yeah, I'll take an exception to this question, then I'll have you come up and sign in, okay? Actually, case in point, I've recommended to the other two trustees, again, kind of last minute, because this all came together last Tuesday, what day was it, Thursday? Whatever day, Thursday. That we were going to keep it the same distance as it was in 2006, 150 feet. So if you had over 10 acres, for example, we were saying, hey, you need to be 250 feet out. What we're saying is 150 feet, I don't care if it's what your acreage is 150 feet off the property line. or more. It's just like in 2006. In fact, if you really looked at the 2006 plan, it almost looked like, if it wasn't us copying off a book, it almost looks like we plagiarized the 2006 amendment. This is an amendment. It's not a new law. It's an amendment to the 2006 resolution. Nothing more than that. We're amending the time frame for the operation use. Nothing about vehicles, off-road, any of that kind of stuff. Just be respectful for your neighbors, like you guys have been doing for how many years? Because we know we don't get any complaints, and it's been really smooth, and I don't want any complaints. So with that being said, again, do the trustees have anything they'd like to add? If not, we'll go right into it.
I'd like to say that I think this board and our administration mishandled this, obviously with this many people. I mean, the poor communication, and, I got a call from our reporter following our meeting wanting to write an article about our vote. And this was the first time the public was really going to hear about it. And once word started to get out, that's why we've got this many people here. And, and I think we've mishandled the communication piece of this, all the way from, including with our attorney. I mean, number one, I was dumbfounded when that was brought forward as the resolution. I think, like you mentioned, it dated back several years, and I think I even asked them to take a look at what our options were and things. And I just, I'm a property rights guy and didn't want to restrict things, and I don't believe you ever really can, make two neighbors get along. So if they're not getting along, they're going to use these tools that we provide them to get after each other. And I think we misstepped here every step of the way, including, some of the things that got out on Facebook and things, and I'm very disappointed on how we handled this. And, we have a public relations guy on our payroll and things, and I just think that we should have put this out there. I know, when did we put the 2006 amendment or resolution out there? I mean, it was in the last day or two?
Sam, we put that out a few weeks ago.
2006 resolution?
Yeah, the ordinance.
That's been up for a couple weeks.
Has it?
Yeah, at least a couple weeks.
Okay.
So,
I think it's been longer than that.
yeah,
The
regardless.
old 6.
So I just, again, not to be the one talking all night here, because it's not about me, it's about you guys that are here tonight. I just want to make sure we're crystal clear in what we're asking you guys to do. Is just follow what you've been doing from day one, with the exception of the hours of operation. So, before we hear from everybody, can I offer a resolution to rescind the resolution that we had last week?
Well, what is the process? If we rescind that, will we have to read this one twice as well? So if we read one this evening, we wouldn't vote on it till our second meeting in July, because we're not having one the first week, and then it would be 60 days after that till it took effect.
Correct, basically, if the second reading is not waived. We didn't waive the reading of the second one the last time, so you could vote on rescinding that resolution, and it's gone. And then the new resolution tonight will be up to the board whether to approve it, disapprove it, second reading, waive it, whatever.
And I hope you got plenty of copies. I had Sam make 30 of them or so. Maybe, did you make any more for anybody else showing the new resolution? There's some more there. I tried making as many as we could here for everybody to make sure they had.
Also, for those people standing, there's seats over here if anybody wants to sit down. I mean, I see you stand over there, but there's lots of seats on this side of the building, so if you want to come in and sit down.
So I'm going to make resolution 1879 to withdraw from our resolution from the first reading, June 5th, 2018.
Before, I think I'm the one that asked for the second reading, and I felt because a lot of the testimony we had 2 meetings ago, nobody had the information we were considering. And I agree with you, John. That's not right when you come to a meeting and the people speaking don't know what we're considering.
Right.
And a lot of the testimony, in my opinion, and it's nothing against the public, but what they had learned was not what we were considering. I'm not a Facebook person, but I don't know how this information gets around, but it wasn't accurate, so people that were truly telling us what they thought about it didn't realize what we're considering. So I asked for the second reading, which is what we have tonight, and I'm not sure, John, I know you voted no, but I'm not sure if your no vote meant we don't want to do anything, or whether you were bothered with the resolution we were considering. So I'd like to suggest before we rescind, and why don't we hear
Good idea.
what the issues are?
Yeah, I like that.
And I'm not even sure, I saw some email, and Neil, I'm glad you tried to step up and correct the problem. I think as chair, that's your job. But I'm not sure I know exactly what we're finally considering here tonight.
Okay.
And whether we do one reading or two readings, at least we've got a big turnout tonight, and everybody knows we're considering it. But we've had a noise resolution since '06. That's before my time. I think it's before your time, Neil. I'm not sure about you, John. So I do agree with Neil that we're not changing anything here. I think we're trying to amend something and make it more usable. At least that's my intent. So why don't we open, if it's all right with you, Neil?
No, that's great.
I don't want to start passing resolutions.
No, I follow you. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great
Thank
point.
you.
How about we just go down the list, starting with Justin Trela, please? Is that, if I spell your last name wrong, or improperly, sorry. It's not intentional. Hey, Justin, do me a favor. Do you mind just coming up here and introducing yourself? Full name, address. And I'm hard of hearing sometimes, so that's the only reason I'm having you up there.
Obviously with the noise and everything.
Sorry, Justin, just tell me where you live, address that.
2916 Villa, Sweeney.
Okay, thank you.
With everything, with the noise and everything, and you guys are trying to change stuff, you said in 2006 that everything's been smooth and working, and you guys want to change the hours. So you guys want to change something, take more. It gives chances to take more and more each time. So if it was working, why change it?
Great question. In 2006, that's 12 years ago, and you're constantly looking at operations, and again, this is a result of what's going on throughout the state. In my opinion, not these guys' opinion, but my opinion at the time was, if I showed you some of the restrictions that are in some of these townships our size in Ohio, you'd be really upset with me. All right, so we're trying to work with you guys a little bit here too.
Justin, before, I have a couple questions for you. How does this affect you personally? I don't know if you're an off-road vehicle guy, I don't know if you think it pertains to, I'm wondering what really bothers you in your own circumstances?
I have kids, young kids and stuff, and I grew up four-wheelers, dirt bikes, everything else. It's actually kind of builds your morals and stuff, because for me to be able to ride, I had to be good. Sorry, I get nervous in front of people, so.
We all do.
So anyways, you had to do stuff, you had grades, respect, stuff like that, so it was earned.
Do you have an off-road vehicle, and do you operate it now?
Yes.
And tell me about your neighborhood, or is it
I got Acre.
residential or rural?
That's residential, everything. It's just, we got Acre, it's right off in town, central. We used to have trails back in there, everybody used to share and let people ride. Obviously, stuff gets more condensed now, so it makes it harder, but usually you work stuff out, you said, with your neighbors and everything. But you guys keep changing. The big thing is you keep, you take a little, it don't feel so bad, but you keep taking more and more, eventually you have nothing. So you can't keep taking, that's just, makes it hard.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming tonight, too. Keandor? Or Carter, sorry.
Should have been a doctor the way I write. Oh, Mr. Microphone.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Keith Carter.
Your address?
I'm getting there. You know, ready to pass things and get me out of here too?
I'm sorry.
I live over on Hustler, 2707. I've lived in Sylvania Township my entire life. I know there's been noise ordinances before, and that they are, but all the neighbors are respectful of each other. But, you know, when people sell their properties and you let these developers come in and put up these little subdivisions or these big subdivisions, and you get these realtors out there and they're trying to sell them a piece of paradise. Well, maybe they ought to look into a little more. And it's just like out there on Chrissy and Central area out there. You let them put all them places in out there. How many of them are full? You said them kids weren't going to be in Sylvania schools, it's going to be elderly development. Is there kids going to school out there?
They actually go to Evergreen schools, I believe.
Well,
Waterside, are you talking about Waterside?
No,
I'm not sure which one.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Central.
Oh, I thought you meant Waterside, I'm sorry. Okay.
Redwood.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'm just saying, you keep letting these developers come in here, the people that have been in this community their entire lives, generations before them and them, they built the community, they built these good schools, they've gotten along. You let developers come in, push these piece of paradise off on other people. They move in behind somebody that has been doing these things their entire lives. And then you're gonna turn around and invoke a noise on me, so I can't run my chainsaw after 8 o'clock at night? You know, they don't get dark till 9.
You understand, sir, we're not talking about chainsaws.
None of that.
Well, I understand that, but you guys up there on that board are passing these things in your executive board committees or whatever, and nobody in the township's finding out about these things. I don't read the Blade. It said in that paper, it was in the Blade. I don't read the Blade. Send everybody in the township a letter.
No, I just want to be sure everybody else, we're talking about off-road vehicles.
Well, yeah.
Chainsaws, not lawnmowers.
It's a noise ordinance. And the people that started complaining about it,
Do you have an off-road vehicle?
you know where I'm coming from. No, I do not. But I have enough land, I could go buy some, take the mufflers off.
Oh, no.
I'll make them all happy.
Sir, I'm just trying to get a feel for
But, you know,
your situation.
you keep doing these things, and the county comes out here, and they raise the taxes. And you vote on your school levies, and they raise the taxes. They reevaluate the properties. They'll have your property 200-300%. And you guys keep collecting the money for Sylvania schools, so you can dump all that money in there, which I don't have a problem with kids having an education, don't get me wrong, because a lot of people do need it. But you're over, this isn't a gated community, the township is not. And that's what it's turning into. And it's all these people that have these small piece of their own paradise, their own land, and their own lawn to cut, you know. Then you got 20 apartments down here that are complaining about these other people making noise. It ain't right. These other people always have an investment in the community. They've been paying these taxes out here for decades and decades. And I don't know how long y'all up there on this board has been on this committee for trusteeship, or have you. But you need to put something out there to the entire population of the community before you pass resolutions saying I can't give a dog a biscuit when a neighbor lady's walking her dog down the road.
All righty. Thank you for your time. Thanks for coming tonight, Keith. Adam Duncan. Hi, Adam.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Adam Duncan, I live on Shetland Road, which is road parallel to Hester. I'm more here today to listen because I've heard a lot of hearsay and I didn't know what was the truth. I think, Neil, you did a good job explaining where you guys are at. It sounds like you may have goofed some on what you've put out to the public and what I've read or what I've heard, so you did a good job explaining. I really just wanted to protect my rights on what I'm allowed to do on my property and hear what you guys are trying to impose on me. So it's really why I'm here. I don't have a statement to make. I have a Sylvania Township piece of land and I have a UTV and I want to combine the two. You know, use what I own on my own land. That's really what I'm here to protect. So I also didn't want it to snowball into something else. He mentioned chainsaws, lawnmowers. I'm in that business. I didn't know where this was snowballing to, so I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. I agree with what someone else said, one thing leads to another. I don't want that to be what this turns into. Pretty soon you can't mow your grass at noon on a Saturday. You know, I don't think we're there, but that was what the hearsay was. So a township property owner and a UTV owner, so I hope that doesn't go away. I paid a high tax dollar to own a larger chunk of land in Sylvania Township so I can have good schools and ride a four-wheeler. You know, the two are a good thing, and there's a lot of it still in the township that shouldn't go away. So I'm here to more listen other than that statement, so.
Do you know the size of your parcel roughly?
My home is on 2 acres,
Oh, thank you.
so it's right in that ballpark of what you referenced.
Thanks for coming tonight. Yeah, appreciate it very much. Sherry Drake.
Hi, my name's Sherry Drake. I live at 2422 Hessler Road. I've lived there for about 3 years now. Lived in St. James Wood for 15 years. Engineer by trade for almost 30 years. Grew up as a tomboy with brothers, riding four-wheelers, snowmobiles, you name it, I rode it. When my kids were old enough to be able to enjoy the same type of equipment, I started looking at land and came across my treasure of a property on Heisler Road. First thing I did before anything got moved in was an off-road dirt bike.
Good for you.
First piece of property I moved in. So shortly after that, just like to say I'm a single mom, realized that that's a lot of property to upkeep. So bought a side-by-side. Use it 50% of the time for fun, 50% of the time to help me maintain the yard. Obviously, it's a lot of land to maintain by myself, even though my kids like to think they're a big help. They're teenagers, so we know how that goes sometimes. So, appreciate you taking another look at the bill. My concern is that the piece of paper and the documents I received initially about this is different than the document that I received when I walked in, which is different than this document that I see up on the screen. I don't know what else is in this document because I only see the beginning portion here. So I know, Mr. Mahoney, you made the statement that the only change from the 2006 ruling was the hours of operation. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that that is the only change that we're making because documentation is not consistent. And being as an engineer, I'm very facts and data oriented, so I'd just like that to be confirmed. And just that I knew the rules when I moved into St. James Wood. I knew the rules when I moved in to my property on Hessler Road. And I made those decisions based on the rules. So if other individuals did not look into those rules ahead of time, you know, that's not my fault and I shouldn't be held accountable for that. And I know that also, obviously as an engineer, I came in here prepared with different decibel levels of different pieces of equipment, so I'm not going to bore you with all that information, but you know, the lawnmowers that, the riding commercial lawnmowers that most of the individuals have in your subdivision that you hire out, those are actually louder than the four-wheelers, and we have to listen to those. so as much as you have to listen to us on ours, and I can guarantee you, you are mowing your lawn much more often and more frequently than we're riding our four-wheelers. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any questions? Any questions?
Thank you.
Very true.
Just one thought, because it's been brought up 2 times in a row. One was the chainsaw, the other was the lawnmower. The reason why we made this an amendment and not went back to the 2006 plan, because the 2006 plan talks about all that. And we're like, we're not going down that road. We're going down the road of off-road hours of operation. That's why this is an amendment to the 2006. It's not, nothing more than that. We're not going on the path of, I love firing guns. We're not going down that path. We're not going down the path of chainsaws. We're not going down the path of snowblowers. That is a world that I don't even want to touch. It took us 1.5 years to figure this, to even be where we're at today, okay? So I just want to be very clear, we're talking about an amendment to the 2006 resolution. So Greg Commissary,
Ma'am,
please.
I got a question now that you brought that up. Are there any gas-powered engines out there that wouldn't be auditable from 150 feet? I mean, so that's where I'm thinking when we vote on this, if we vote 150 feet, we're banning them during that.
150 feet or more, just like it was in 2006.
Okay, well, I mean, maybe this is an opportunity for us to look at that in general and not make an amendment. But I'm asking her, are there any, I mean, and again, I don't know why a lawnmower is exempt when a four-wheeler isn't.
Noise ordinance that we're talking about, it's based on noise. That's why we're here today, because of noise.
Actually, no, it's, okay, hey, sorry, I'm sorry to be difficult here. I gotta make sure that, you just come up, love to hear from you, but we just can't have everybody yelling from the crowd. So, Greg, you're on the floor.
Greg Commissary, 2520 Hessler Road. Before I start, I would like to bring up some issues that do fit into multiple categories that, like, I didn't catch your name offhand, but brought up as far as using the UTV, the side-by-side, whatever you want to call it, for utilitarian purposes for property maintenance. At what point do we consider something an off-road vehicle, and what point do we not consider it an off-road vehicle? I can take my side-by-side, the Rhino, I can put a pull-behind mower deck behind it and call it my lawnmower. My side-by-side is actually plated as a pickup truck. That we need to figure out exactly what we're trying to do here before we decide what we're passing. That there has to be a defined set of rules on what is an off-road vehicle. Your current listing is any vehicle that is being operated off of the highway is your definition. My pickup truck is not an off-road vehicle. That if I go out and I start my diesel pickup in the wintertime, 10-15 minutes before I have to go to work, I'm in violation of this law.
Come on now, let's look at this literally. How many, okay, please. How many noise complaints have we had for somebody starting up their vehicle in the morning?
I can't tell you that. I have not been able to obtain that information.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry to interrupt you, that was rude of me.
Okay, we'll start out with targeting. During the May 1st meeting, 2018, trustees meeting, according to the meeting minutes, trustee John Genuine asked Mr. Wright how many incidents as far as sound ordinance for off-road vehicles were listed. We did not have an answer at that time. There have been 0 citations for sound ordinance in the township since, well, at least any record that we can find. That we're trying to tighten up the hours now. We were trying to tighten up the amount of sound that could be done. My big argument is, how am I gonna sit here and tell my son that, oh, it's still light out, but you have to put your dirt bike away at 8 o'clock at night when you still have another hour of daylight before it gets dark? That I'm not gonna sit here and tell my kid, hey, it's still light out, but everything goes away now. That it is obviously dark any time of the year by 10 o'clock at night. That the kids aren't riding bikes with headlights. Go ahead, ride till it's dark. Once it's dark, I can tell them, you can't see where you're going. Put the bike away. Why are we pursuing this if there have been 0 incidents? That we have a few complaints, but we have 0 incidents. Another thing that I would like to bring up is your 2006 revision. There is actually a stipulation in there that if a bike has a full exhaust, factory or factory equivalent, it is in compliance. Any time that I have had a police officer out to the house for a sound complaint, they have come out, they have asked if it is okay for them to go ahead and inspect any vehicle on the property to see if they actually have a muffler on them without the baffle punched out of it. We give them full permission to go ahead and do so. Anytime this has been done, we go ahead, they come out, they look at a couple bikes, they witness what's going on, they say there's nothing illegal here, looks like you guys are having fun, continue, have a good day. Nobody has been issued a citation for sound ordinance. Mr. Genuine up here has expressed concern that this resolution would be discriminating and targeting. That it was listed in the minutes of your meeting that it was asked if there could be a law passed by yourself, Mr. Mahoney, asking if a law could be passed specifically to my address. It was listed in that meeting that no, that would be not legal by any standard. During the May 15th, 2018 trustee meeting, according to the minutes, okay, we're back to the targeting, zoning department, let's see. Okay, the next thing past the targeting. The whole behind closed doors deals we got going on here. We have instances that were documented in your minutes, documented on public recording, that Mr. Robert Wright here was instructed to be able to sit down with our township's attorney behind closed doors to put his input into this law. That is absolutely not right. In our last meeting, it was actually mentioned that this was done in our executive session. There's emails back and forth stating that our attorney was instructed during executive session to go ahead and meet to put his input in on this law.
Do we have the meeting minutes? Could we retrieve the meeting minutes on that when we invited?
I have.
You have those minutes? We invited Rob, Mr. Wright had asked if he could attend the meeting publicly. So there's no closed door. There's nothing behind the scenes on this. In fact, you were there. We asked you, you could have certainly joined if you wanted to then also. So,
You're welcome to look at this email.
You were talking about...
Public record.
yeah, that's fine. That's why it's public. So there wasn't anything closed behind.
You want to go ahead and read that off to us?
Yes, please read it.
Sure. During tonight's meeting, there appeared to be a significant misunderstanding of how this resolution has progressed. The prosecutor's office is not... Yeah.
Could, maybe to help everybody, could you explain who the email is to, from, and...
This is from John Morrell, May 15, 2018, to Mr. Crandall, Mr. Genuine, Mr. Mahoney, our attorney, Mrs. Zutch, Dave Simcoe, John Zeitler. The subject's off-road resolution. During tonight's meeting, there appeared to be a significant misunderstanding of how this resolution has progressed. The prosecutor's office is not advocating for or against the resolution. We prepared the resolution only because the trustees, during executive session, requested that we do so. We met with Mr. Wright only because the trustees during that same executive session asked us to meet with him. No part of the proposed resolution was suggested by Mr. Wright or his neighbors. The enforcement provisions are mandated by statute. The plainly audible standard was suggested by Lieutenant Austin. The acreage concept was suggested by Darrell and Dave Simcoe. The distances were suggested by John Zeitler. The other provisions were either suggested from other resolutions or from my office. I hope this clarifies the situation. Thank you for sharing that.
My big argument is we are sitting here saying right now that we are changing absolutely nothing but the hours. I do not agree with changing these hours. That I am going to have a very hard time, if it comes to it, to tell the children to put the bikes away before it gets dark out. Myself, I own the street bikes. If I want to go for a ride, I'll go for a ride at midnight.
Sure.
It doesn't matter to me.
Absolutely.
And then we get back to the issue of harassment. Some of the agencies that have made appearances at my house over the course of the last couple of years. Obviously, we have had multiple trips from Sylvania Township Police Department. Again, I have never been issued a citation. I have had a couple visits from the fire department. Again, nothing wrong. Sylvania Township zoning has been out to the property on a couple occasions. Again, absolutely nothing wrong there. Lucas County zoning has been out to my property. 0 citations. Lucas County Health Department was out to my house on 2 occasions. Again, nothing wrong there. The Environmental Protection Agency was out to the house on 1 occasion. Again, no citations. Lucas County Board of Wetlands was actually brought out to the property on the instance of 2016. I did a clean out on the pond, which was about the time this started. I believe that that was what provoked this whole thing, was I had a pond that was dug in 1976 that in sand, 0 liner in it, was coming into the pond. 2016 summertime, I went out, I had dead floating fish in the pond, and it was nothing but a cesspool for mosquitoes. Which, by the way, we have the West Nile virus in our area now. I don't quite see how, I tried to call to have mosquitoes sprayed for today, and our county has ceased spraying private properties at the moment.
Right. Let's try to stay on point here. Keep going.
I completely understand that, in short, I have broke 0 laws throughout any of this. That this is just an effort to make it so that I am breaking some kind of law. That this is absolutely nothing short of harassment. I have been issued 0 fines, 0 citations. I've never even been asked to stop when we do a Sunday fun day with the kids. It's, you are within your rights, you're having fun, have a good day. That this never goes till 10 o'clock, never goes past 10 o'clock. That obviously, no bikes, no headlights, we're not going that way. That's about where I'm going with this. That I don't believe that changing the hours is going to do anything other than create an issue where we are going to receive citations. That we bought these properties to be able to enjoy the properties. That my own personal property, this is something that happens a couple times a year. I invite a few people out, and we have what we title Sunday Fun Day. We bring the kids out, we bring the small bore bikes out, the pit bikes, whatever you want to call them, with full exhaust, and we let the kids with their parents have a good time in the yard. My yard is fenced all the way around. Nobody is going outside of the yard. It was suggested December 19th, 2016, that we get a sound ordinance exemption. Before this comes up, as far as an argument, which we have come to calling the Mother's Day incident, if you want to call it that.
Okay, keep going, but I just want to be very clear, and I appreciate everybody's patience in listening here. The focus is about the hours that we're talking about here, I just want to stay on task here about, not your history here, because there's a lot of other people that have histories, and we've certainly heard your side of the story multiple times here. I just want to be very clear that we're talking about the hours of operation is what, just want to stay on task. We keep going,
On our new amendment or whatever.
Yes.
What are our standards as far as our sound ordinance exemption? Because the last one stated that you could have up to a 24-hour period 4 times per year. When I applied for that sound ordinance exemption, I applied for 11 a.m. to dark. And when that sound ordinance exemption came through, it was till 6 p.m., I forget what the start time was on it, that my hours were dramatically cut on what I actually applied for. And while we had this instance going on, we had Mr. Wright, that's so concerned about the noise and the distance and all that kind of thing, standing right up against the fence at my property, taking pictures, videoing, whatever he was doing at the time. It's so noisy he can't stand it from his house, but he can walk right up to the fence so that he can see it and hear it better.
All right, good. In light of keeping this thing moving forward, appreciate your effort and time. We're really discussing the hours of operation here this evening, so, thanks, and I appreciate you coming the last year and a half here. So,
okay, along with finishing off this whole off-road vehicle sound ordinance complaint thing, can I go ahead and sign on the stuff that's not on the list?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The non-agenda list. Can I sign on that?
Yeah, of course you can. Okay, Tracy Sowers. Tracy?
I'm right here, but no.
You good, Tracy? Okay, thanks for coming tonight. How about Amy? How about Amy Retchcreek? Hi, Amy.
I'm Amy Retchcreek. I live at 2941 Hessler Road. We have just under 2.5 acres. Yes, we have off-road vehicles. We have a golf cart. We have a mini bike. We have an extraordinarily loud car that's run on the track.
Sure.
But it is tested and tuned inside our shop. We have a full race shop on our property.
Oh.
We have 2 horses on our property, and for a while we even had a little cart to go with one of the horses. Didn't drive much. That project never got off the ground. But we have just about any kind of off-road vehicle you would care to name, and probably a few that you've never even thought of. We like to think of our horses and our critters as keeping the ag and agricultural zoning. We intend to keep it that way as long as we live in what we thought and will still believe is the exceptional township of Sylvania Township. We pay our taxes, we support our schools, we support our children. We completely support children that are taught how to turn a wrench, how to change their own oil, how to fix a tire, how to think their way out of a problem without having to whip out their little phone and have some little computer brain do the thinking for them. We're all for that. We're a tolerant bunch of folks on Hessler Road. That's one of the things that makes our neighborhood exceptional. Some of our neighbors, they might have a bike that's a little bit loud. That's their thing. That's all right. That's why we live where we do. Some of them might have a bonfire that gets a little smoky, and that's all right. That's why we live where we do. We don't need a homeowners association to protect our rights, because, you know, we have this other wonderful document that's called the United States Constitution that guarantees us life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the pursuit of happiness is generally thought of as being one's own real estate. and that's why we live where we do. I greatly appreciate you gentlemen recognizing your missteps in communication and opening this up as an open forum for everyone. As I've listened and tried to catch up to what has transpired over almost a 2-year period of time, I'm developing the instinct that maybe it was good law that was passed in 2006, and perhaps nothing needs to be done to it at all. Just because other population-dense cities need to revisit the land use plan, have somebody that's stirring the pot, have more HOAs than they've got fleas on a dog, that doesn't mean that that needs to be us, because that's not how we roll. And when we're together, we roll pretty good. And that's why we live where we do. The one gentleman mentioned a concern about, well, what if I had to start my diesel pickup truck? Do you know that Ottawa Hills has that very ordinance? People are not allowed to park their diesel pickup trucks at home in Ottawa Hills. And I asked one of my colleagues at work, I said, well, God forbid you have a company logo on your truck and that you're not independently wealthy and crap, you actually have to work for a living? Like with your hands? You're not a doctor, a lawyer, an Indian chief? Well, it's the noise, she explained to me. So such things actually do exist, but we really do not need them here. It simply is unnecessary.
Amy, I appreciate all your time and thought on the process.
All right.
How does this relate? Can we get it back into the hours of operation process thoughts here?
There need to be no hours of operation, so let me just clarify that.
Okay.
Zero. We like our freedom, we like our life, our liberty, our pursuit of happiness. We don't need hours, we don't need an HOA, we don't need an amendment, we don't need any of that. What we do need are elected officials who communicate with us clearly and in a timely manner. And since you mentioned that you have a PR person available to you, I suggest that they do their job a little more effectively than they have been. I think that's about enough. If I think something else you'll see me again.
Thanks. What kind of car do you have, by the way? Race car.
1965 GTO.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Love it. Okay, Amber Noonan. Is Amber here? Hi, Amber.
My name's Amber Noonan, and I live on Holt Road. And a majority of my family owns a lot of land around Holt and Mitchaw. And as far as noise, once we found out about, we own lots of golf carts and four-wheelers and dirt bikes and mini bikes and classic cars and old cars, and we own race cars, and I mean, you name it, we all have it. And we do pay a lot of money for our taxes. I do not send my son to Sylvania schools, so yes, me paying a lot in taxes should give me the freedom to do what I want on our land, and we are getting subdivisions built up left and right around us. So I'm actually even concerned about the 150 feet rule, because if our field in our backyard, just between Central Trail and us here shortly, turns into a subdivision, then that 150 feet is going to be a problem for us. So I actually don't like the noise ordinance, and I don't like the 150 feet. For as much as I pay in taxes, I don't feel like we should have either of those, actually. And while we're talking about noise, because we hear Timberstone's walkathons very loud and clear, and I know we have been here to complain about them because we literally live, you could throw a rock at Timberstone practically. And again, all of our family owns all of those houses surrounding there. And I know some of you guys have knocked on our doors to put big old signs in our yards and stuff like that, because we're the Zweifels and the Noonans and everybody. So I know we've seen you guys before, and we are not okay with either one of these. And I realize we're not on, it sounds like Hessler Road's the problem. We realize we're not on Hessler Road, but we're not okay with either one of these. And I speak, for most of us on Holt Road, Vin Devers, our neighbor, Tom Devers, he has lots of cars. It's where does it start, where does it end? And so we're not okay with this. We like to try and keep a little government out of it, I guess you could say. And again, Centennial Terrace. Every time we have a concert, we can go to Corey Blast. Our house shakes every time the Corey Blast. There's so many things that we could really, talk about as far as noise and problems and everything else. I just feel like this is stepping way too far in and that we really don't need this. I understand that people have problems and I would hope that people can be respectful of other people, but what's the point of us living in Sylvania Township and paying our taxes when I could easily just move and we could go buy another 20 acres somewhere else and, make our own subdivision with our family for how much houses and land we have because we don't use your schools. I'm just saying, and there's nothing against Sylvania schools, but we just don't. So if you take this away from us, wrenches and everything. My husband's an engineer, my father-in-law builds racing engines, and my mother-in-law runs a huge manufacturing company. She's right at the top. So, this stuff is, we're not happy. And we weren't happy that we found this out on Facebook nonetheless, because, a lot of our family is older. I know the Zweifels, I'm sure some of you guys have knocked on the doors for the sign. She doesn't even know what Facebook is. So, and she, has golf carts and, just all those things. We're just not okay with the,
With the hours of operation, okay.
Yeah, we're not okay with 150 feet either.
It's been there since 2006.
We realize that, and honestly, if we've never had a problem, if it's don't
Right,
fix it.
exactly. Be careful what we all wish for. It's been good since 2006, guys.
Do you know the size of your parcel?
I'm sorry, can you hear
Do you
me?
know the size of your parcel? Probably.
Well, ours, we had them all split into 1.1, but we have about 15 to 16 acres between all of us. Because we have all the houses by 10 Mile Creek right back there by the swamp lines, and then on Holt, yeah.
Do you guys want me to turn the air down a little? Is it a bit warm in here, or is it just me? Okay.
The 2006 resolution.
What's that, John?
Did the 2006 resolution have that 150 feet?
Yes.
But did it have a decibel reading instead of plainly
No
off?
decibel readings. And then that's where Lieutenant Austin, if you remember last year in 2017, Lieutenant Austin had his opinions on the decibel thing, which is a whole other can of worms. But so we said, hey, let's keep it the same as what it's been in 2006, 150 feet. So I haven't changed that. That's not part of the change. So that was the same as 06 as it is today. Tom Creaky, please. Is Tom here? Hi, Tom.
How you doing, Neil?
Good.
Tom Creaky, 9555 Sylvania Avenue. No stranger to this board. They put their trust in me on the zoning board. I think we've got a good committee. We're a little bit dumbfounded that we didn't get some of this to our board, maybe take a little heat off of you, like-minded individuals, outside-the-box thinkers. We think we could have maybe gave you guys some good options, revisions, whatever have you. So I took it upon myself to circulate a petition for the prior resolution. So I don't know if you guys want that, or if we're rescinding that, where we stand. There's up to about 80 signatures, but there's no point in giving it to you if that resolution is no more. I guess I would give them to you just so...
My intention is to rescind it this evening, so...
Sure, and I think Neil's come a long way on this with just going to the hours of operation. I may be in disagreement with some of these guys that may be the best thing, because I, like you, researched other townships, and even Pennsylvania, Michigan, where you would think four-wheelers, ATVs would be no issue. They're actually stricter. I've seen as far as 300 feet from any residence. So I'm just telling these guys that from a zoning guy and looking at these things and looking at other townships, everyone on this board knows I do my homework. That's why they put their trust in me. I've got one right here from Peachtown Township. you register every mini bike, you need a sticker, you need all kinds of stuff. So I caution them to push back too hard on this board, because we are growing. We do have subdivisions, we do have other things, I get it. Trust me, I'm on your side. I live on 80 acres, you know what I mean? I have tractors, loud things, kids with little four-wheelers. But the point is, what we've been doing is respect your neighbors. So I'm not saying don't ride it, and I think maybe we go to 9 to 9, if it's dark then, okay? Or I think we talked with Genuine about maybe doing summertime hours, cut back wintertime hours, even though most people are in their house. And I've seen resolutions in other townships with those kind of daylight savings time changes. So there still are options, but I think I just warned the crowd, be careful what we push for, because this has come a long way just in 2 weeks. And if you get along with your neighbors, and there is no complaint, we're a complaint-driven zoning department. So if you have 30 neighbors, you get along with them all, and they all know your style, whether it be Heisler, Chapman, Holt, Sylvania Avenue, and they don't complain, nobody comes out. Am I correct, Neil?
Absolutely.
I mean, the cops are not driving by, and if they say, I can hear that four-wheeler from 150 feet,
Right.
you're not getting a ticket. So I just want everyone to understand that. So all my neighbors babysit my kids, we're semi-related, so you're not going to have a complaint, whether you're 80 acres or 2 acres or a half acre. So that, I guess that's just my point. I'll hand you this petition, and I didn't talk to everybody that signed it, but most of them would be in agreement with the hours of operation. So I may be, there's, like I said, there's 80 on here, and if anyone that signed it wants to come up to the mic and say, hey, Tom, we're totally against those hours, but for the most part, we got one guy who signed it who's against the hours of operation. And maybe we just ask for you to look at a tweak of those hours, 9 to 9, for instance. So that's all I got. You guys have done a good job, and I think this has come a long way. Like I said, a lot of misinformation out there. But if they start to research other townships in Ohio, I mean, God forbid we get different trustees down the road, this could get a lot worse. And with money behind it, subdivisions got money, lawyers, whatever, we've seen it. And I just wish a lot of these people would come to some of the zoning meetings. I was the only no vote on King's Acres, on Heisler. Nobody showed up. I said, I think it's too dense, there's large lots behind it, we're going to run into issues just like Kings Hollow. Nobody, I don't think anyone in this room was at the meeting. There you go. And they can listen to the minutes, the sign was knocked down on King. I wanted to set that meeting back another 30 days, because when I talked to the neighbors, the sign was in the weeds. But that's passed, the neighborhood's in now, guys. But due diligence, hey, I took attention to it, I brought it up, the board wouldn't postpone the meeting. But I'm just saying, pay attention to what's going on in your surroundings, because these things fly through, so you gotta do your own due diligence. Sorry to say, but...
Thanks, Tom, appreciate your comments. Thanks for coming tonight. Mark Gilbert. Mark? Hi, Mark. Thanks, Tom.
I live on Sedalia.
Sorry, just give me your first name.
Mark Gilbert.
Hi, Mark. Okay, Mark Gilbert. Okay, thanks, Mark.
I've only lived here 6 months. I came from Toledo. I will tell you, all of my neighbors are awesome. They're neighborly. The first thing I got when we moved in, and they requested about cookies. Where I'm from, you don't do that. That's not what's done. The second thing they said was, what you do at your house is your business, and that's my firm belief. That's why I moved to Sylvania Township. You know, my yard is the property line between Sylvania Township and Toledo. I have apartments next door. Your noise ordinance, you say, well, if you get along with your neighbors. There's one old lady neighbor that calls about my dog saying, Sylvania Township's been out twice. They told me to muzzle my dog. Not gonna happen. You know, my dog's not as loud as my lawnmower. I don't have a problem with mini bikes. We have a couple young men that ride them up and down the street. You know what? That's great. My kids have four-wheelers. I have off-road trucks. I go to Bundy Hill. I unload one of my Jeeps The little old lady that lives in Toledo called, and I have Savannah Township out. Your officers are great. They're understanding, but you know what my problem is? I live in Savannah, I pay the taxes. They can't go over and tell the little old lady, or even talk to her because she's in Toledo. The noise ordinance that you have, it might work for some, but there also needs to be leeways. If they can't talk to a Toledo resident, a Toledo resident shouldn't be allowed to call them compared to my Savannah Township house. I think that maybe dusk to dawn for these guys, or dawn to dusk, whatever you want to say, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it, guys. You know, like I said, if the police don't have a problem with it, why, and the neighbors don't have a problem with it, why do you guys?
All right, great comments, Mark.
I mean, it's like these guys said, it's the neighbors. You know,
right.
Savannah Township has wonderful people. I've learned that in 6 months, and I would hate to put my house up for sale and move because it's what I did in Toledo to get out of that. I don't want to have somebody over me saying, you can't do this.
Thank you. Chaz Scherzer? Hi, Chaz.
Hey, dude. Chaz, 2619 North Christie Road, Savannah. I've grew up there and house right in front my whole life. We have a farm, animals. Was 20 acres in between the two. I've had numerous complaints for gun shooting and everything ever since the housing development across the street went in. So I'm not subject to the noise either, but I work now till 7, 8 o'clock at night half the time, and then my kids, I get home and they're constantly bugging me to go ride a little three-wheeler or pit bike. So the 8 o'clock cutoff time is kind of a little hard, because half the time I don't even get home till about then. So for them to go out and ride, because they don't usually ride unless I'm there, they're too young still. So a little later, dark, whatever, that'd be acceptable. But 8 o'clock, that's kind of early. So other than that, everything else seems to be decent so far.
Thanks for coming in tonight. Appreciate it. Jim Weiss? How you doing, Jim?
Good, Neil, how are you?
Good seeing you.
Good. Jim Wise, I live at 8055 Holstein. We have 1 acre. I own a street bike, a dirt bike, and my son has a little dirt bike. So we certainly don't have enough to have a track, but we do occasionally ride around the yard. My issue with this is it's any audible noise, which is written into this resolution. To me, that's not really enforceable. I'm also a member of the AMA, the American Motorcyclists Association. So I've seen this in other jurisdictions, I read about it, and if this is a noise issue, then it should be measurable noise. It should be a decibel level, like this young lady stated. There's electric dirt bikes, but if the brakes squeal, you're going to hear it from 120 feet or 150. So to me, that's not reasonable. If you want, to race in an AMA race, the bike has to be a certain decibel level. So if this is a noise issue, then it should be measurable. It just can't be any audible noise. We've got people in our neighborhood that have golf carts that take their disabled kids around for a ride, or if you have property and you need to use it. Again, I'm glad to hear that you're taking that out, but the problem with this whole thing is still the 150 feet and the noise. And I don't want to make it worse, but that's going to be an issue, and I've seen it in other jurisdictions. So that's my concern.
So Jim, 12 years ago, you had an issue, it's still the same, 150 feet out plus, even today. Nothing's changed. You have a problem?
I understand that.
If we have a broke thing, we should fix it. And I think everyone's more aware of this, and there's going to be more enforcement, I'm assuming.
What was your question? I'm sorry.
No, but I'm just curious, the 150 feet from 2006 till today, very few complaints, very few issues. You're saying that you have a problem with that?
No, but what I'm saying is someone could say they're 150 feet away and I can hear your four-wheeler.
Of course they could. They could, just like they could have in 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Right, but just because you hear it doesn't mean it's excessive.
Paul, can we get our chief up on this one? Because we did look at this, Paul Long, Jim, do you mind?
No.
Paul looked at the,
Actually, what you just said, just because you can hear it does not make it excessive, I would agree, and I think that's what the 06 ordinance says, it's about reasonable. Just because you can hear that noise from 150 feet, if you hear it for a short time or whatever, that's not unreasonable, so that's not, just because they can hear it, your neighbor can hear it, doesn't mean, and no one up here, I don't believe, is saying that that's, and even Mr. Wright, they understand, you're gonna hear stuff, it's, how long does it go on? What's excessive? What is unreasonable? So, so just because someone can hear it from 150 feet, doesn't mean officer comes out, oh, yep, I hear it, that's clearly unreasonable, it's been going on for 5 minutes, that's not unreasonable. It's like your lawnmower that they talk about, anything else, so it's, so that's kind of what you're looking at there. So just so you know, just automatically 150 feet, because you can hear it, doesn't that instant make it unreasonable?
What is excessive?
And that's, again, time of day, time of night, I think that's probably why so many hours are thought of here. Somebody, when somebody said dusk to dawn, I don't know that I want somebody firing up a four-wheeler at, 7 a.m. next to me if I live there. I think even...
Dawn's earlier than that these days.
Yeah, 6 a.m. So, that I think, so, but I mean, again, that's what you have to say, has it been going on for, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? I don't know, that's something you'd have to talk to the people that called to complain, go over and talk to whoever had the four-wheeler, yeah, we've been riding for an hour. And again, I would go back, because I've had to do a lot of research on how many calls we've had, and I know a lot of this emanated from Kings Hollow. They don't call all the time. It's only when, and if they do, or, again, no citations were issued, Greg, because it wasn't, excessive, but there's not been one call on his property since he's worried about being targeted since I think it was August of last year. So they don't call all the time. It's not like they heard one noise, 150 feet, I'm calling, so.
My concern is there haven't been any calls because this behind closed doors law is then being written.
Okay, well, let's keep, Paul, you got, sorry. Greg, please, order, just if you don't mind. Paul, anything else?
No.
Did you look at the, real quick, Austin, you looked at the decibel thing last year when we talked about this, and I kind of got the hint that this is not a path we want to start looking at, folks, because there's a whole other Pandora's box that we're opening up. So, Lieutenant Austin, is there anything you'd like to add to this conversation? Okay. That's why we're kind of focusing on 2006, same plan. Nothing's changed a whole lot except for hours.
Well, I've been on the board for 8.5 years, Neil, and the past noise complaints have come from Village Inn, the Shorty's Bar, it's Shorty's Back 40, it used to be 419, and a couple other bars, and it was always that we had to get a decibel reading of that prior to this. So I am very shocked to hear tonight that, because that's not how we proceeded in the past, and I know you were on the board, a few of those, I think with the Village Inn, and we were always worried about the calibration of those, and it does bring a whole set of circumstances in it.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
But still, I think excessive is a term that is, a very gray area, and
It's subjective, that's the issue.
Yeah. And
that's why we got a good chief and a good deputy lieutenants and deputy chiefs to help us make sure that we're maintaining order in a good fashion like we've all been doing since 2006. So, with the exception of the hours is my thought. So, Jim, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mike Sowers, please. Mike, you around? Oh, come on up, Mike.
Mike Sowers, 5024 Heather. I'm on the other side of Sylvania, on the other side of 23, right from the Lexus. I've got dirt bikes, my daughter's got dirt bikes, all the people in the neighborhood have them. We just don't need any more on the books for people to look at to, if there's gonna be complaints, there's gonna be complaints. There's gonna be other things besides probably just the dirt bikes or the four-wheelers. So I just wanted to say that I would like to see nothing added to this, so.
Okay, thanks for your time. James Crosby, it looks like that's the last one. James Crosby.
I'm here, yes.
Come on up, James.
Absolutely. There's more pages here.
Are there more? Is there anything other, before we get...
Let me go last.
Yeah, we're gonna go next, Jim. Hey, is there anything, if we're hearing kind of the same story, is there anything new developing that we've talked about the last hour and 20 minutes that's anything different than what we've talked about when we first started regarding hours of operation? I just would like to limit hours of operation discussion, and that's about it, because that's really the only thing that we're talking about this evening. So go ahead, James, you got the floor. Because we've got like another 20 here, so.
James Crosby.
Hi, James.
Westbourne Road. We're here to talk about the resolution.
Correct.
And I'm sorry to hear that you want to frame the discussion to a pertinent type section. But we're going to talk about stuff. We'll talk about the resolution.
That'd be great.
First of all, you keep referring back to, initially when you were presenting this, you talked about this as being a zoning ordinance, which it's not. It's a home rule resolution, which was the same thing the 06 resolution was. This is not a zoning issue. This is in fact something that the state legislature allows home rule townships to utilize. And you referred many times to the 2006 resolution and the 150 feet. Are you familiar with what it actually says?
Yes.
What's it say?
150 or more feet.
And what else does it say?
Clearly heard by the person 150 feet or more from the source of the noise or loud sound.
Which page was that on? I guess I overlooked it. Okay.
It'd be page 2, section C.
Okay. And the other part there where it talks about the noise being generated in schools and churches and religious buildings used for religious worship.
We're not talking about those, but yes.
That's part of this 06 resolution that you say needs to be corrected.
Correct. Or no, it's not. We're making an amendment. Sorry to interrupt you.
Well,
we're making an amendment to the noise resolution, nothing more.
I've heard it said in these open meetings before that this was not a noise ordinance, but an off-road vehicle resolution. And that's how it's titled.
Correct.
You're utilizing noise levels within that. I think that this whole methodology is questionable the way you guys have proceeded. There has been a noticeable lack of public discussion and input other than this evening. There have been a few individuals presenting their case over the last few months. From 2016 is when we first became and said that it was a problem. But as we're talking about this, I think that the 06 noise ordinance versus the 2018 off-road vehicle resolution has different hours of operations. One begins at 10 a.m., the other one at 7. So
that's actually not true. That's for snowblowers. So let's focus on...
I'm trying to focus on lots of things.
I'm just letting you know, let's focus on what is regarding the hours of operation, but 10 to 8 is what we're talking about tonight.
Okay. I'm opposed to this resolution as it's been presented and as it's been progressing through. But some of the other things that I'm really concerned about is how and when you had discussion about this resolution, and it was presented earlier as far as within the executive session, you were directing your attorney to proceed with drafting of the resolution and getting information. I struggled to realize and understand why that was a subject matter that was discussed and talked about and directed within an executive session meeting. How does that comply with open meeting rules of the state of Ohio and sunshine laws?
That's a great question. I remember this conversation vividly. I think John's miscommunicated his email because Rob Wright was sitting right where he's at. We had instructed John Burrell to do a study we unanimously approved looking at throughout the state of Ohio for report on what's going on with other townships, Mr. Wright stood up and got up to the microphone and asked if he could attend any of the meetings as a citizen. And we said, of course you can, that's your right. That was not done in executive session, even though, John, you wrote that. That was not done in executive session. We talked about it right here as a board.
Neil, you're saying it was never discussed in executive session?
Initially, we discussed it out publicly.
That night we went into, that night we went into executive session to discuss a variety of pending criminal litigation. This was tacked on because at that time, we thought we might have to initiate litigation to solve the situation. That's, pending criminal litigation is one of the exceptions, one of the things you can talk about in executive session. So we did. We did talk about that, but it was under the, as I recall that executive session, as they say, under pending criminal litigation, a variety of pending criminal litigation was discussed during that meeting. This was one of 2 or 3 different topics that we discussed that we thought might go into court. That was one of the options we were thinking about at the time. At that meeting, it was decided that's not the way to go, and that's when you instructed me to look into various ways, and when I was instructed, when I was asked to contact Mr. Wright. I would have contacted other people had the trustees asked me to contact other people, but they did not. And I would not normally contact citizens unless the trustees asked me to do that. But that's why we were in executive session. It was under that exception.
Thanks, John.
Good cover story. Doesn't seem right to me, but it doesn't pass my sniff test. Maybe it's a bad sniffer. Sorry.
All right. Is there anything else?
Yes, there is.
Let's try to put an end to it if you don't.
I appreciate your concern for the expedient of functioning with township business. I know how proud you are that you're typically able to accomplish everything within an hour.
That's the goal.
Absolutely, I understand. Sometimes it takes longer. I questioned you did ask the chief of police to provide a report stipulating the noise complaints. And I apologize if I'm boring you, but it came up with 224 total incidents in the time period requested. 224 in total is what I believe the report said.
That's an 18-month term.
Okay.
Initially, it was 220.
That's the documentation I saw then available by public record. Very few of them actually involved off-road vehicles. The majority of them, I believe, involved loud music and other noisy situations. So the time spent pursuing this seems to be out of line of what was functioning well before. The majority of the report seemed to focus on a particular address on Heisler Road, and I think that now you are attempting to impose township-wide resolutions that were pretty much unnecessary based upon the 06 noise ordinance that was already in place. People enjoy living in an unincorporated township for a particular reason. There are some benefits for living here. People do have own property and like to utilize it as they see fit.
Bud, do you mind if we keep moving on with other folks? We've got other people who'd like to speak this evening.
I would gladly listen to and hear everyone, Neil.
Okay.
And I do appreciate you wanting to hasten this entire process.
Just looking for something different than what's been brought up.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mahoney. I've heard this a number of times from you tonight and other times.
Okay, Mike, Buck, would you like to, you're up. Mike, you're up.
I think I'm good.
Okay, Rob Wright?
Yeah.
Are you finished? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you, wait, that was...
Oh, you were finished with me, and I guess that...
Just your focus on
however you'd like to... Mr. Mahoney, however you'd like to do it.
Just trying to keep this focused.
I'm attempting to stay focused. I think you have some open meeting issues going on. Maybe I missed that. The litigation, potential litigation, good cover story, I don't think it really holds water.
Okay, thank you very much. Rob, do you have anything to say this evening?
A little bit.
Okay. Please state your name and address.
My name is Rob Wright. My address is 7532 Hollow Creek Drive in Kings Hollow. I want to clear the record on some comments that were made tonight. I didn't come with anything prepared in advance. For what it's worth, township meetings are posted on the website. It's available, it's open for anybody. It was an open meeting when Mr. General, I believe you were president, and the three of you agreed to assign some investigation and perhaps rewriting of the ordinance, and I did ask if I could observe, and you all three agreed. So that was done in public, okay? I don't...
Please.
Contrary to popular belief, we have never denied the use of any off-road vehicles. We've never denied anyone the right to use off-road vehicles. It's not in this one, it's not in anything that's been written. We have never, ever said anything about anybody's right to ride a vehicle. Our intent in continuing to get some clarification on the matter is we don't want to see a repeat of the May 14th Mother's Day ride. And actually it started in the summer of 2016. And I got to the point in October of 16, and I have recordings that I can play. If anyone would like to hear them, I'll play them, but in the interest of time, I'm not going to. They were highly offensive from the noise and a fume issue.
Please be respectful of the speaker. I appreciate it.
I don't think we interrupted anyone or said anything, so I would expect the same respect, and that's essentially what we're asking for.
And again, Rob, we want to kind of focus on what we're proposing as the hours of operation, so we'll keep focused on that too.
We like to enjoy our backyards as well. And Mr. Komisarek has a right to ride his vehicles. We also have the right to enjoy our backyards without any of the excessive noise and fumes. That's been, again, I'm repeating, but that's been our only issue. You have a right to do whatever you want to do on your property, as long as it doesn't infringe on any neighbor's property. And that's, again, all of our points. My only question is, I don't know why some property rights exceed other property rights. No one's been able to explain that to me. We would like to get this resolved in a fair manner. It just comes down to the fact, you want to ride. You're going to go over the top, that's the problem we have. Similar to your comparison 2 weeks ago with AC/DC. I love to sit out on my deck and play my music as loud as I want to. But I can't do that.
You can. You can.
Well, I respect my neighbor's right not to listen to my music. All right? Maybe they don't like my music.
I know, but there's no ordinance that says you can.
There is an ordinance, it's loud.
On this one.
There actually is, there is an ordinance from 2006, but we're not talking about it.
No, I understand that. So
and that was a bad example that I used, because obviously it's not what we're talking about tonight. So.
No, but I mean, it's still noise.
Right.
Okay?
But that's where we're starting to slice and dice, and it's not noise, it's noise from a four-wheeler or off-road vehicle at this point. And that's, I think, what most of these people are concerned is...
Let me repeat myself, Mr. General. We are not asking, or we have not said that no one can ride. I have never, ever said that. All we are asking is respect for our ability to enjoy our backyards without excessive noise. Whether it's a four-wheeler, a record player, I don't give a darn. But we have a right to enjoy our yards. And I'm going to say it again. You can ride, I don't care. But when it gets to the point where it's affecting our lives and our privacy and our ability, that's where we draw the line.
All righty, Rob, thanks. Are we done here? Because we want to make sure if there's anything regarding the noise or hours. Doris Commissaric, anything new you want to bring?
The main thing is the hours, I think, is...
Okay, how about come up to the DS, please? Thanks.
Hi there, good evening, everyone. I'm Doris Commissaric, 2520 Hustler Road. I'm Greg's mom. He's been at that property since he's been 10 years old, 1995, so it's been a long time. He's been there paying taxes for all this good stuff. I just don't understand why we have to change the hours. If it's not broke, why fix something? What is someone going to do if they're going to be leaving to go somewhere? How are they going to get their bikes out and put them in the trailer? Or if you get home at night and you want to get things unloaded? You know, this time restraint, taking all those hours away, 5 hours away from everyone's ride time is ridiculous. The 8 to 10 hour time frame now, 8 a.m. in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, hasn't been a problem. There has not been any episodes or instances in all this period of time, so I don't understand why we're doing anything with it. Also, the city of Sylvania does not have anything in place, and we were told the last meeting, so why would the township consider being more restrictive than the city limits are? You know, that's the thing. The city limits don't have a restriction on noise for mini bikes, and you know darn well they're in the city there. And so why does the township want to make some type of restriction just targeting mini bikes, off-road vehicles? I don't think it's a very advisable thing. I think if it's not broke, it shouldn't be fixed, and I think it should be voted down. I don't think this resolution is anything that needs to be added to your resolution that you have from 2006. I think you should keep 2006 as is and not add anything extra to it. You know, there's also been different claims of different people, you know, saying, you know, they've been here for years and years. We want to use that land and take full advantage of it. Multiple generations, you've heard from all these people that have come and spoke. So that's my claim. I don't want anything changed on that 2006 resolution. I don't think the hours restriction is something that needs to be added tonight. So I'm voting not to have anything changed. The 2006 is restrictive enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Doris.
Trustees, I have to apologize on the resolution that we were, not the previous one, but the one we were talking about for tonight. Through a cut and paste error on some of the resolutions that we made copies of. In section 3, prohibited conduct, under B, there's someone came out with on parcels of less than 2.5 acres. Right. That should be deleted. There's no acreage.
Oh, so we got a misprint on that?
There's only the 150 feet.
Right.
As we've been talking.
Not the one I have, but that's okay. Let's keep going down the list.
Someone had the roundabout.
Okay, sorry about that. That's our fault internally. Briefly, Robin.
As a neighbor, we're in favor of the restricted hours because, as I stated, we like to use our backyards. And if we want to sit out there from 8 o'clock on, we'd like to do it without off-road vehicle noise or fumes. I'm done.
Okay, thanks. Brendan Engel, are you here tonight still? Hi, Brendan. Or Brandon, sorry.
Good evening. Thanks for having us here tonight, guys.
Thanks for being here.
First and foremost, I'm Brandon Engel, I live at 2457 Hessler. I'm a diagonal neighbor to Greg. I have 2.37 acres. I used to live behind Taylor Kia. I sold that property to expand to have room for my kids who are 7 and 4. Everyone said, you know, we all pay our taxes equally, everyone has a right. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. The hours in question, you know, some of these folks, I'm a nurse, I work night shift, And, matter of fact, I had somebody stay over tonight so I could come to this meeting. And then I'm gonna go to work the rest of the night. The 8 PM, when it comes to people working, getting home at 5, 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, or later. A lot of people that live out in the area, they work landscaping, they have their own companies. They're out till almost dark, and they get home and, like, I think it was Chaz, mentioned, he's out late, he comes home, the kids want to ride. That's all they've been waiting for all day was for Dad to get home. Chaz, I'm sure like me, I have no doubts my wife can supervise the children, but there's just something about the security having Dad around, if available, that kind of helps it out a little bit. So I don't let them ride as much if I'm not home, but when I'm home, it's free for all, I don't care.
Sure.
I'm not going to discuss the targeting because it's already been done. And the city of Slovenia, that was brought up already. Like I said, I work nights. I have zero abilities to call in a noise complaint when I get home in the morning. I get home around 8. I get the kids up if it's school time, get them ready for school, get them on the bus. I go to bed around 9. There's nothing I can do if someone is making noise in the township. I don't call, I don't complain. That's my choice. If I don't want to work nights, I go find a desk job somewhere. But nights works for my family, so I deal with all the extra noise. And I think we're on the right track of adjusting some times. Maybe like dusk in the summer, and 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, I think is reasonable. And my kids are not out riding at 9 o'clock at night. When it starts getting dark, I pull them inside because, yeah, they have headlights on the four-wheelers, but it's still dangerous. So that's all I have. Is just let's look at some of the times, maybe adjust the times a little bit. As far as the 2006, it's already in place for a reason. It's worked for 12 years.
Yeah.
I just pulled a report the other day from PD from January 1st of 2017 till June 11th. And there was 305 noise complaint calls, 5 of which were ATVs. Less than 0.002% of your total calls. So why are we here tonight? That's all I have.
Hey, Brandon, cute picture of you and the kids on your four-wheeler, by the way. Yeah, cute kids. Danielle, do you have anything to add other than? I do. Okay, come on up.
Daniel Zimmerman, Township resident for 69 years, residing at 6012 Whitewood Road, and we have property on 5448 Alexis Road, Zimmerman, Heaton. I choose to live in Sylvania Township because there is far less government interference up until now for living my life and letting me use my land in the method I choose to do. This resolution is very restrictive to how I can use my land. In addition to that, it's extremely ambiguous, especially to the area for sound. I cannot even fathom how regulations can be used using such terms as located on section C, letter E, that is plainly audible at a distance of 250 feet. Without any decibel readings, that is so subjective to whoever that person is trying to decide whether it's audible or not, is ludicrous.
Mr. Zimmerman, sorry, so you better not get everybody all rustled up. It's 150 feet. I think you might have gotten a copy that we had a misprint on. Sammy, do we have?
I'm reading from a printout off the website.
Okay.
It's listed as resolution number 18-079.
Yes, okay. That's the one I'm proposing that we eliminate tonight, but go ahead.
That would be fine.
Okay.
In addition to that, it devaluates our property values. If we cannot use it in a manner in which we want to use it, then you're stealing money from us. And by the way, we've all been talking about something that's all dear and near to us. It's called the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. It protects our land rights. And the hours, whether you say, why is someone else going to tell me when I can use my own land? No matter for what use. And in closing, I would also admonish those people who move into our community where the land has been used for scores of decades in a particular manner, and I would admonish them to use due diligence to figure out if where I'm moving, can I live in this community? Pay attention to where you are moving and what you're going to do. Don't tell us in the community that we can't be doing things that we've done for decades. Do away with, don't consider any of the time restrictions. Please.
Thanks, Mr. I know we've got a few more here. Mohammed Alo, anything new to add that we've already talked about tonight? Hi, Mohammed.
Hi, how are you? My name's Mohammed Alo. I'm a cardiologist. I moved here from Chicago 6 years ago. I could have lived pretty much anywhere I wanted in all of Northwest Ohio, but I picked Sylvania Township.
Thank you.
We found a lot on Heisler Road nearby, like 4 houses down from Greg. I've never heard any sounds from his house. I don't have any ATVs, but we have a really loud go-kart. Sometimes the muffler falls off. The kids like it, but luckily Brian has fixed it for us a couple times. We do use our RTV, which is slightly different, but we plow the snow, and we've plowed some of our neighbors' snow. In cardiology, when we're making guidelines, and I'm not going to bore you to death, but when we say everybody's blood pressure should be under 120, that's a general rule for all people. When we're passing guidelines, and I've sat on some of those guidelines committees, we want to pass a rule that's good for all people. So everybody should be at 115 over 75 or whatever it is, but there's one patient that needs to be like 150 and should not be at under 120. So I think passing laws and making all these, township rules for one person, or maybe two, like Greg and Rob, they can just sit down together, have a beer together, come over to my place maybe, we'll have a party together and talk it out. Like you said earlier, we can just meet like neighbors and how we've been doing it for 50 years, and just sort this stuff out. Passing rules and guidelines and things just for one specific scenario or one specific patient, probably a little bit excessive, and that's really all I gotta say.
Thank you, Doc. Drake, are you here still, Dave? Anything new you'd like to add, David Drake? Oh, come on up, Dave.
I'm not related to the young lady. I live at 2827 Hessler Road, and the only thing I'd like to say is we got stopped on the deletion of this thing, rescinding of it, and is that going to happen?
Yeah, I'm sorry that I even brought that up initially. I'm glad John Crandall stopped me from doing that.
I think you should have done it right away.
Yeah.
For John's benefit, I have 2 snowmobiles, an old motorcycle. I haven't ridden a motorcycle in 20 years, but if I want to ride it, I want to ride it. My grandkids come over a couple times a year and ride my snowmobiles around the yard. They don't bother nobody else. I have an ATV up north at my place. If I wanted to bring it back, I'd do so. And I don't have anything to add from what's been here, but I do think you ought to rescind this thing right now.
Okay. Thank you. Paul Sawyer.
Paul Sawyer, 2637 Hessler. I've lived there since 1960. I've lived in the township since 1935. I have snowmobiles, ATVs, a loud motorhome with a big diesel in it.
Nice.
I have chainsaws, I have everything, and there's nothing I can add to what has been said, and I agree with most everything that's been said.
Thank you for your effort. Thanks for coming tonight. I've got one more here, Dan Zimmerman. Dan? Oh, that's Mr. Zimmerman. You thought maybe 2 spots. That's okay. Or is it Danielle? Or?
Yeah.
Sorry. Come on up, Danielle.
No, it's all right. You can take my spot anytime you want. I like to be last.
Okay, so my name's Danielle Engel, 2457 Hessler Road. My husband Brandon has already spoke. I just wanted to second that I don't agree that there should be time change. If we're gonna go back to 2006, don't change what's not, if it's not broken, don't change it. I just wanna thank Mr. Genuine. I know that you've, had some good points that I agree with throughout this, and I believe you have a fair standing thoughts on this matter, where I'm not really sure I get a good feeling where you guys are coming from, and I'm not really comfortable with what has been going on, and feel like we have to come and babysit what's going on. So I just want to kind of throw that out, that as trustees, we shouldn't have to do this. We should be able to believe in what you guys are doing is for the best of us, and not just a small, tiny group of people versus the township. So going forward, I just wanted to hope that we can, enough of us have shown up that we have proven to you that we will continue to watch what's going on, and that, going forward, things should be done in the correct manner, and considering the entire township well-being and not just a small individual. And I'm not really comfortable with the way, Mr. Robert Wright talked about, we want to make, as he is a part of the trustee board, he was talking as if he was part of it, so he might be more comfortable with you guys, and his choices might get pushed on you more, maybe because he's showing up more, and that's on, our part as citizens, that we haven't shown up because maybe we didn't, believe that we had to show up to, make sure that you guys are taking the township ideas into consideration properly, versus just individual bases. So with that, I would just, I just want to voice that I'm not content with the change in time. I think that it should be, as many people have said, should be a little bit later. If I'd say 9 o'clock is good. The sun goes down. Last night, the last couple nights I've been looking at the time when I bring my kids in, and 9 o'clock is about that time, and I understand that other people have rights too, just like he said, he wants to enjoy his time, but as stated by some other individuals, they're not happening. I mean, people aren't out there riding their four-wheelers and off-road vehicles on a daily basis, so the infringement of rights is not taken away from one every single day or anything like that. So that's just kind of my point. You think about it, it's not 24/7, it's not 7 days a week, it's not every night. I mean, grass gets cut more often than those things get rugged. So, you guys have any questions for me?
Not just a question, but I just kind of did some rough math as I've been sitting here for the last 2.5 hours. About 90% of the folks here are from Heiser Road, and I can't thank you enough. There's 10% that's not, roughly 10% that doesn't live in Heiser Road. There's 29,000 people in Sylvania Township. Okay, it's just not, I can tell you, it's just not Heiser Road that has an issue. I've got somebody right now, north end, running four-wheelers at midnight.
No, I don't
Lights on.
agree. I don't agree.
This isn't just Heiser Road, guys.
But there's also a
29,000 people in this township.
And we didn't have enough time, we haven't had enough time to really get the word out to the citizens versus a Facebook thing that something was gonna be changed. So, to expect the whole city to come in and talk to you, that's ridiculous. If you want the whole city in here, we can work a little bit harder if you're gonna have another revision of this.
Agreed, and if, I'm not here to, please, if you got something to say, come up to the DS, and if you're not signed up, we're actually gonna move on with our agenda.
I understand what you're saying, like,
the agenda here.
the Hester Road is a percentage of the township, I get what you're saying, but
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to
we
say.
have to,
That's all I'm trying to get at.
there's a lot of people, 80 signatures that was done at Creakies, there's a lot of people that weren't able to make this meeting that are still voicing their opinions that aren't here, so
Agreed, fair enough.
take that into consideration.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. We're gonna close.
I'd defend myself 50%.
Briefly, Rob, I'm ready to move on.
The reference to we, the reference
You're on
to,
the non-agenda items, this is agenda
the
item.
reference to we was the
We're not, we're closing it after Rob, we can talk
was the
about.
Kings Hollow Association. Okay? That's the we I referred to. We have never, and the other thing that we've never said it 7 days a week, all the time, we've never accused anyone of doing it. It's sporadic, it always has been. We've never accused it of overnight, all night. It's never been like that. And that's on the record. And that's also on Channel 13's interview of me on Mother's Day.
Okay, very good, so we've closed the hearing. I'm closing it. We've heard two, if you've got something to offer, totally regardless.
wants to speak.
You guys okay with them speaking? I don't care. All right, go ahead.
You know.
My name's Patrick Pilipiuk. I live at 9155 Beautiful Lane. I do not own an ATV, but I'm going to buy one. And I just want one thing to be on the record for Mr. Mahoney, because I sat up here tonight, and the gentleman left him, I couldn't tell if he was awake or not the whole event, but it was your behavior. I thought it was really embarrassing the way you treated a lot of these residents tonight, and that's all I wanted to say.
That certainly wasn't intentional, I hope not. Gee whiz, I would take offense to that, because that's not how the person I am, but we're finally going to close the agenda items.
This guy's name is on the list.
My name is on the list, and
What's your name, sorry?
Jim Maples.
Jim Maples, where?
Come on up.
Yeah, come on up, this is not agendas. What are we at
I may
here?
have signed the wrong list.
That's okay. That's all right, just, we'll write your name for the file.
Couple things mentioned were ambiguity.
Okay.
One of my concerns is also enforcement. When it comes to noise, I don't...
Sorry, do you mind just giving your name and address, please?
Oh, my name is Jim Maples, 4618 Sedalia.
Hi, Jim.
And, when it comes to noise, we all know what it is. It doesn't matter whether it comes from a small engine, doesn't matter whether it comes from somebody's RV, diesel truck, rock and roll, squeaky brakes, whatever. It's ambiguity. You gotta put, if you wanna put teeth in it, you gotta put teeth in it. It's gotta have meaning. And, the other thing is enforcement. You gotta have numbers to put on it. It gets back to ambiguity. Can't be selective enforcement, regardless of what it is. Somebody else said unincorporated, and that's a big thing. Community's grown, it's gonna continue to grow. And there's gonna be growing pains along with it, but, you just gotta get along.
Right, thanks for your comments. Okay, we are closed the agenda items for discussion for this, and we are going to discuss the resolution that I propose that we go ahead and, what's the word? Withdraw. Thank you, John. And this is for Resolution 18079.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll call the roll. Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
No.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Okay, then we're going to go ahead and do the first reading for resolution.
Sam, do you have a number for that one?
We don't have any numbers on that, Sam. What are those numbers?
18-086.
086, thank you. So we're going to do the first reading, so we're going to have time to review this again. Resolution 18006, the first reading.
So you making a motion? Is that?
I'll make a motion, yep.
You have a second on it? or-
I've got a question on it.
Okay.
Are you going for 2 readings? And will this be published?
Yeah, I think that's...
What's published with this agenda
Well, yes.
is the one just, we took care of that, but are we gonna, I wanna know we're gonna have 2 readings on this, because the public really hasn't seen.
Agreed, half of
much
it
before.
was typed anyway, so yes.
The one that's on the agenda
Right.
is the old resolution, just rescinded.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll second it if it's the first reading.
And we'll have a second?
I'm not clear if you're...
Yes, the first reading, we're going to do...
And we will have a second reading?
Yes.
Okay, then section E will be deleted from that resolution, because that resolution dispersed.
Well, I want to be sure...
That we have everybody's the right paperwork.
Right.
I can't believe we're voting on this when we said from the start we poorly communicated and we're making changes to this and doing things on the fly and you're still gonna vote on it. I think that's pathetic. But go ahead, take your vote.
John, this shouldn't be a debate.
Please, we're done, we're on the voting now.
For the second reading.
information, you already paid that.
Yes, it does. You know, well, we're voting on the first year, John, hey, please, guys, come on, please.
We have a motion and a second on resolution 18-86. And so unless the trustees have other discussion,
Which will be amended as we discussed.
So they'll have 2 weeks to review these documents, and we're going to do just like we did 2 weeks ago, you'll have the chance to review this. So we're not voting for anything tonight, guys, we're just getting it out to the reading, it'll be online for you to review, and then you'll have a chance to go ahead and see these documents and then come back.
Next time.
We'll vote next time, yep, we're gonna...
You're voting right now.
No, we're voting it for the first reading, we're gonna vote to review.
This isn't correct.
How many of the people that, you know what, if it's not correct, it's not correct. Are you telling me that we, hold on, how many of these do we have that we distributed out? Did we distribute out these wrong to the public tonight? Okay, you know what, then let's just, okay, then I'm gonna make an executive decision here. Let's push it to July, make sure we got everything printed out right, and no excuses on this, and then we'll go ahead and do the first reading, and then we'll do the second reading.
I'll withdraw my second.
Okay. Thank you for everybody coming tonight. Really appreciate it. All right, let's move on with the agenda here. You guys want to take a 5-minute or John? Okay.
it's, you know, it's not time.
still questioning the accuracy of some, and Lieutenant Austin and I were just discussing some of it, so I'm looking, trying to break down that retail theft, but yeah, I'm not sold on how accurate that is for this month, so we're going to work on that. I'm not sure where we're drawing some of those numbers from, but burglaries, which I do feel confident on that one, because that's a simple one for us to track. Good news there, that's down 6, so that's really good. Not a lot of them out here, which is great. And Midnight's had a nice burglary arrest on some of the new construction way out west next to Central Trail and that development out there. So in the last 2 months, actually, they've had a couple of nice arrests on burglaries, so that's been good. And some of the burglaries that you see on there are, it's a relative, who's the heroin addiction, that sort of thing. So as far as, true burglaries that you think of where somebody, you went to work, they kicked your back door and took your stuff and you came home and stuff, not much of that going on right now, but so far the couple we've had on nights, we actually caught them, so that's a good thing. So that's number 0, I'll bore you with the rest of those. Like I said, the DARE graduation, what else? There's anything else for Sharon, she needs to know. I had my first meeting, I met with the Citizens Patrol alumni thing, they help us out on a lot of different events, so that was a good contact point for me to touch base with them, they help us out a lot of different events, and we talked about some different things, answer their questions, maybe some other ways we can utilize them a little more, so. I know it's been a long night, so I will, unless you have any questions, I will end it.
Thanks, Chief.
Good luck on the fireworks. I know it's a big night for our...
I got a meeting coming up on that I'm going to, so I'll work that night and experience that from the law enforcement perspective, not the spectator perspective that I usually do from, so.
Thanks, Paul. John?
Thank you. I have one resolution, Resolution 18075, accept renewal of the Ohio Plan for Property Casualty Insurance for the township. Basically, the plan is the same amount, except it's going up by $309 as a result of some additional vehicles we've acquired. The total premium for the year is $96,549.
I'll offer Resolution 18075, accept the renewal for the Ohio Plan Property Casualty Insurance.
Second.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
I'm going to abstain.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
That's all I have.
What about the, okay, very good.
And then Mr. Simcoe?
Simcoe.
Yes, we have the May 2018 month-end packet you have, and basically revenues are...
It's loaded, so 100 pages, so it takes a while. All right.
Oh, okay. Well, just briefly, our revenues are over 50% at this time, and our expenditures are under 40%, so we're doing well. Nothing really to report on the month-end packet. If you don't have any questions, we'll move to the resolutions. Resolution 18-083, it's a transfer of appropriations, and in the police capital fund, we had monies for an air handler in there, and we really had to use it for a water meter, and so we need to put additional funds in building repair line items for that air handler now, and that's what this is about.
I'll offer Resolution 18083, transfer appropriations.
Second.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And Resolution 18-04, and we've had some auction proceeds on police vehicles, and those monies go into the general fund, and we're just simply transferring them to the police fund.
I'll move Resolution 18084, transfer of funds.
Second. Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And lastly, a resolution 18-085, and it's appropriation from unencumbered funds. In the general fund, we need some additional appropriations for hiring costs in the zoning department. We also have some expenses associated with a potential workman's compensation hearing. And then in the lighting district fund, we need some additional funds for legal notices for street lighting.
I'll offer Resolution 18-085, Township Appropriation from Unencumbered Balance.
Second.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
That's it.
All right. Any open discussion, guys?
The only thing I have, and I should have caught it when you were up there, Jack, is after listening to everything today, I think we've got to have a resolution out with the agenda. And I still think maybe this still needs a little work on the noise abatement. And I did hear Tom Kriege say maybe we should get input from our zoning department, from our zoning board. I don't know that that will do it, but I do know, Neil, you're trying to resolve this. And I think we all are kind of disappointed that when development comes, sometimes the give and take doesn't work. But in my mind, I'm not sure we got the right solution yet. And I don't want to see us move too fast and just, we even had a change tonight in the newest resolution we had before us. I want to be sure that the next time we get what is being recommended to us and we get it on the agenda. I mean, when we've got one resolution on the agenda and then we come in here and we're given a second one, and Neil, I appreciate what you were trying to do, get it resolved, but then we're making copies. To me, it's a circus. We're not even on the same page and we're trying to resolve an issue like this. So I want to be sure that the next agenda, we got on there what the administration is recommending to us. And I don't know if it's zoning, I'm going to leave it up to you or police department, but let's be sure when we put on an agenda that we've got down a resolution that we're being asked to approve.
Who works with Mr. Jones on what articles and how we're communicating, you know, township topics and things? Again, this was a ultimate failure in communicating to the residents, and we're getting a third-party site that had pretty up-to-date information, and that's what really set me over the edge, because again, I wasn't even aware that you were trying to resolve this, Neil, and we're getting messages, you know, from Facebook again, saying, and they were, you know, they weren't completely accurate, but they had enough details in them. I thought, how in the world did this get out there when none of this other stuff got out there? And that's what was extremely frustrating to me, is how that got out there. And again, we had nothing to combat that with in terms of what we were all up to, and I certainly felt left in the dark completely, and I was getting as many as the rest of everybody was getting. So it just was an epic failure from start to finish, and Mr. Jones, I don't know if you work with Mr. Zeitler or Neil as chairman, do you work with Mike on this stuff, or how is Mike picking his subject matter? And again, I just think that we need to improve that. Mr. Creaky?
I say, let me know where we're going, Mike.
Hurry up, say it.
I wanted to say it could have snowballed.
Come on up.
The news media was looking for a story on this.
Tom Kriege in 9555, but I think Neil was contacted by the news, obviously Channel 13. They were looking for bites on this, and a lot of people wanted me to go do it. I said, why? We don't need the bad publicity in the township. We've been down that road with previous trustees and administration, so I think, and I appreciate even the guys on Heisler denying interviews. We don't need that. We're trying to grow, move forward, get past this. You know, I think Neil wants to move on with other things, bigger, better things, move on. So like I said, it was sad to see the news looking for some drama here, and I'm just glad nobody bit.
Yeah.
Like, no story here, guys. Listen, we're big kids, we'll handle it, let's move on.
Agreed.
So, thanks.
Thanks. So then we have hearing of the public for non-agenda items. Is Doug Klutz still around by chance?
Oh, yes.
Hi, Doug. Come on up.
And Neil, I want to make sure I'm still on that list.
You are, Pat. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening. My name is Douglas Klutz. I'm at 2740 Hessel Road. And I'm here to request that you guys rescind your emergency resolution on cats. I can't believe that you would come up with an emergency resolution that doesn't offer anybody in this community a chance to respond. You just saw what happened tonight once the word got out. So we're looking at the idea there's Humane Ohio and Toledo Humane Society have different ways of addressing that issue of the cats. But it doesn't sound like anybody did any research or any contact to find out any information other than simply passing a resolution to fine people again in this community. Is that the mentality we have? I have one other issue, but for the record, how do you guys go about informing the general public about issues that come before you?
I think we're just discussing it now, we don't have a good method.
Because that's how I found out about the cats is through the Sylvania Advantage. I find it out in the local paper like that this is already a done deal. That's all I have.
Thanks for staying as long as you did. Appreciate your comments. Is Tracy Sowers here? She still around?
I think she left.
Okay, how about Jim Maples? Is he still around?
They may have their own.
Yeah, she was put on the wrong list.
Okay, Greg, anything else to add?
Yes.
For non-agenda items?
Yes.
Okay.
Part of it is related to an agenda item, but I'll come up and address it.
Thanks.
Okay, Greg Commissary, 2520 Heisler Road again. One big issue that I would like to bring up was Doug's deal with the whole it not being legal according to this article that's listed on your township website to have any means of feeding any animal that is not your own pet other than a stationary bird feeder. That by this article, by the law that's written in this article, it's not legal for me to take a handful of pellets out to my pond and throw them to the wild fish, or to have a deer feeder in my backyard for the wild animals, or to have the kids go out to Olander Park and feed the ducks. It doesn't address any of this. It only addresses cats, and there are government entities that are set up to deal with this issue to start with. We need to explore what is already in place before we start blindly passing laws. That is one issue that I would like to bring to your attention. Another one having to do with an agenda item. That you have your titled off-road vehicles, your 2006 amendment to your sound ordinance. What are we doing as far as this sound ordinance and these nighttime construction projects? You can't tell me those don't make noise. And the other thing is you can absolutely not tell me they are not off-road vehicles. That I understand they are construction equipment, I 100% agree, it is necessary. But there is absolutely no provision anywhere in your sound ordinance for any of this nighttime construction. Me personally, I could care if my neighbor's out blowing off tannerite at midnight. I'm not going to call the cops on it. But we're addressing issues that are pointed directly at me and my residency. I'm not going to call the cops no matter what somebody does as far as noise. I'll make that 100% clear. But we have laws on the books that are not currently being followed. We want to put more laws on the books to try to deter people from not breaking the laws that they're already breaking. One instance we had was somebody complaining about a dirt bike in the trailer park across from the barn. Call the cops. That it's not legal to operate a dirt bike on a public roadway. That if you're breaking one law, you don't care if you're breaking one law or 10 laws. That we need to take all of this into consideration. And then lastly, but obviously not least, We have multiple revisions on the same thing. We voted on something last week that got tossed out this week, then we have a new one this week that's already been modified. We have the same book with how many different printings and none of them match. That we need to address this and have everybody on the same page of the same book with the same revision when we're discussing this and looking this over, and it has to be available to the public before we're discussing this, voting on it. That we need to have this accessible some set period in advance so that the people, whether it's from the website or whether it's mailed to people, I can't see mailing everything being practical, because like we said, the police department says there's 28,000 people in the township, you say there's 29,000 people in the township, a stamp's 40 cents each plus the paper. You do the math. What would that cost to send everybody a copy of everything? That we need to have a way that the people can review what's going on here. We need to have transparency. We need to know 100% that this is what is coming up today, this is what is getting voted on, this is not what's getting voted on. That 4 weeks ago, we were told point blank that this is something that is not going to be voted on anytime in the near future. 2 weeks ago, I showed up here with a very small group compared to the 2 weeks before that, and this was pushed through for a vote when there wasn't anybody here to oppose it. That this kind of action has to stop, period, end of story. That we need transparency, we need to know what is going on as the people.
Thanks.
And leaving it at that today.
Thanks, Greg. Pat?
Yes.
Polly? Polly. Sorry.
It's pillow
puke, sorry. My bad.
And this is just along the lines of the transparency issue, and it's a question from Mr. Simcoe. What is the status of the public information request for SAGR?
Well, I don't know. I'm on the SAGR board, but I don't really have an answer for you. But you could ask SAGR, that'd be the place to direct your question.
Interesting.
Well, they're the ones that the request
is that your answer?
Made to. They're the ones that the request has been made to, so I think you should ask them.
But you're on the board, aren't you?
I'm on the board, but I don't speak for all of SAGR. I'm a board member. But the best place to be would be to go where you've made the request and ask them.
I'm not allowed to talk to SAGR, which you're probably well aware of.
Oh, I see. I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so I have to go through the FBI and the Attorney General, and I'm just, as a courtesy, I'd like an answer from you.
Well, I don't have that answer for you.
So that's, okay, fair enough. When could I get that answer from you?
You can write SAGR a letter and ask them.
I did, over 30 days ago, and they refused to respond to it.
This isn't township business.
It is. He's a township elected official, and he sits on a board that you put him on.
Well, I do. I sit on that board, John and sir, and I think you can write a letter and ask them. You have a lawyer. You ask your lawyer to ask them.
Well, they're refusing to respond.
Well,
Is that you?
This is the transparency issue that people are having.
Under the statute, and you can follow the statute.
Okay. And you're an attorney, and you stand by your board's decision. Is that correct?
Well, what's their decision?
I don't know. You're a board member. Your decision appears to be you're not answering my request.
The board's not answering your request. It's not me that's not answering your request, and I don't know that they're not answering your request. You have a lawyer, you have to ask him.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice answer, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session at 8:10 to discuss fiscal and zoning department. At 8:10, or 8:12.
Second.
Call the roll, Mr. Genoway?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Oh,
you did, okay. What about the 80 residents that Creaky had?
Petition.
The petition, yeah.
I think he passed it out. I got a copy of it.
Oh, he did, he passed it out. Okay, good. Maybe it's in my folder.
And then also the dry meeting.
Yeah, keep passing it out to us.
Pat, I go to your hometown next week, Saskatoon.
Are you really?
Yes.
I'll let them know.
Please do. For just a short stay.
Sure, that's about what are you doing in Saskatoon?
Up to a place called Selwyn Lake.
It's good?
Up at the northwest, Selwyn, S-E-L-W-I-N. It's about 500 miles north of there.
Saskatoon, north of there.
Yeah, right in the Northwest Territory. Are we back on?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Actually, it's not this year's Selwyn. They did go out of business. There's another lodge right next to it. All right. You ready there, John? Yeah. Good to go. I'd like to make a motion at 8:29 to come out of executive session with no action being taken.
Second.
Mr. Genowine? Yes. Mr. Crandall? Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Now I'd like to bring up for discussion our next board meeting.
Right.
As you know, we talked about last meeting, July 4th is a Wednesday, Tuesday. We decided to not have the meeting then. The question is, do we want to move it to the 10th and then have a meeting the 10th, 17th, or just forgo the first meeting and have the second meeting of the month? So it's up to the board to decide. The biggest thing is the noise, and I think you could use the additional time. In my mind, I want to be sure our agenda shows what we're considering. So my gut would be, let's try to skip the 4th, although I'm available, but, and go to...
You mean the 10th?
No, I'm thinking we go to the, what would be the second, I'm sorry.
17th?
4th, 18th. No, 17th, I'm sorry. I think we ought to go to the 7th. I think you're going to need the time, John, to get this right.
Well, I think that, speaking of a long night, because that's going to be the night of Turner, too.
Oh, it is?
Well, it's going to be close, because they got to get, Maumee City Council's voting night on the 16th.
Those two meetings both will take a lot of time.
Right.
Will we have enough time to vote on TARDA at our first meeting in August? Or will we plan on voting it on the 17th?
Well, we're going to, the first meeting in August would be the 7th.
And they need it by the 8th, I think, right? I thought I read that somewhere.
Yeah, part of me thinks I don't want to be the last one like last time.
Well, then let's do the 10th of July.
Well, you can always vote on the 18th.
We could do the 10th and the
17th.
I don't...
Whatever you guys think.
Well, I'm available 3rd, 10th, 17th.
I am too.
24th, so
I am too.
I'll leave it to you.
Well, why don't we,
But I think Turner will take my guess is it'll be, and certainly the noise is gonna have a full.
right. So let's do July 10th, have Carter come in.
Yep, so we'll have a meeting July 10th.
Yep.
And the 24th will be our target then? No, or the 17th. We have 10 and 17th. Huh? 10 and 17th.
And we won't bring up the noise until the 17th, because that was brought up tonight, and it will give us a little extra time to get it correct, and it will stick with our regularly scheduled meeting, so we won't throw people off.
Makes sense.
So, should I contact Target and try to bring them on track?
That would be the plan.
Just
Yeah.
Just put it together. Yeah.
Have they reached out to you about coming?
Not to me.
Okay.
Well, they didn't, I don't know if you guys got it, I got a strategic plan for them.
Oh, I got it, yeah, I've talked to a couple people about
I
it.
figured we all got it.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion that we adjourn at 8:32.
Second?
Mr. Genowine?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes. All righty, thanks, everybody.